Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the video. So today I want to talk to you about my job. And I just have to say, my job is so cool. I love it. I don't feel like I did. I manifested this job. That's a whole different topic though. But my job is an embryologist. So I work in a fertility lab and I help people have babies. And saying that though, I am literally only 2.5 months in, so I'm not quite that far. There's a lot of things I have to learn and do before I actually get to that part of baby making, if that makes sense. Just like a little disclaimer, I am new to the field, so I'm obviously still learning. I have a lot to learn, but I'm literally obsessed with this field. And I don't know, I'm just so excited about my job that I want to share it with you. I've made videos about my jobs in the past, so I guess let me just give you a little bit of background. So yes, my name's Heather. I live in Houston, Texas. This job I'm working now is my second job post-college. So my education track, I have a bachelor's degree in biology. More specifically, it's animal behavior, evolution, and ecology. And then I do have a master's degree in plant pathology. My first job post-college was working in a genetics cancer lab. My role was a clinical laboratory technologist. We did mainly cancer tests, but also some prenatal tests and other tests too. But the prenatal tests is what was super cool because that in my last job directly relates to my current job, which I love the transition, you know? And now I work in a fertility lab as an embryologist and my job is super cool and I want to talk to you about it. I just want this video to be more educational and if you're interested in the field, I can kind of give you my 2 cents as a new embryologist, if it's worth it or how I like it. I don't know. I guess I'm just speaking to you as a friend, you know what I mean? And also, if you are an embryologist, hit me up on LinkedIn. Let's be friends. No, for real though, I've talked to other embryologists on LinkedIn and it's cool to professionally connect with other embryologists. I guess all I want to say is, in terms of if you're thinking about embryology as a career choice, I honestly highly recommend it because people are just waiting longer to have children because we can't afford it. So then by the time we actually want to have kids, we can't. So then we have to do embryology. Or, obviously there's people with genetic factors or same-sex couples, but with all the different reasons to do IVF, this field is just growing and I feel 5 years from now, it's gonna be twice as big. So if you're thinking about becoming an embryologist, it's a niche field and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So if you're a teenager watching this and you're mildly interested, look into it. Also, I do have to say, so one of the things that got me into thinking about embryology, I feel I planted the embryology seed way back in when I was in college. Honestly, back in 2014, 2015. And one of the seeds that I planted was from this book. So if you're interested in embryology, or I guess this is a biotechnology book, but this book, it's called, yeah, Brutes and Angels by James T. Bradley. So my class read this book in my genetic ethics class. So it's a biotechnology book. It has chapters on IVF, let's see, Dolly the sheep, stem cell research, pharmaceutical mind enhancements, I don't know, all of the things, futuristic stuff, gene therapies, let's see, cognition enhancement, engineering of non-human organisms, nanobiology, synthetic biology. Anyway, if you're interested in embryology, I would take a look at this book because ethically wise, this is a super cool book. But yeah, this book kind of planted the seed of me becoming an embryologist way back in the day. And now that seed sprouted and here I am as an embryologist. So that seed sprouted into a little tree and here we are. But okay, so yes, if you're thinking about embryology, do it. is what I'm saying. But yeah, a lot of my family and friends are super interested in my job and I love talking about my job. So I figured I would make this video and tell you about it too. So the way I see my job is kind of like school. Like there's all these different, I guess, like modules that I have to learn. Module is not like a good word. All these different like techniques essentially that I have to learn, but I focus on one technique at a time and then I have to get signed off on it before I move on to the next. And I guess just like a rundown of all the different techniques that I will eventually learn as an embryologist include sperm analysis, sperm processing, and then we learn like dish making, egg retrievals, and then embryo transfers along with egg thaws. And then we move on to ICSI, which is an acronym. It stands for intracytoplasmic sperm injection. That's like the actual joining of the like egg and the sperm. So we like take a little needle and like and then get the sperm into the needle and then inject the needle into the egg and then inject the sperm into the egg and then it fertilizes from there. We learn that, and then day checks along with egg freezes, and then biopsies, which is what the genetic testing is that looks for like the chromosomal abnormalities for any like genetic issues. But yeah, there's like a lot of different things that I will eventually learn. In my lab, we have 3 different levels or tiers of embryologists. So we just have like embryologist 1, 2, and 3. And I think once you learn ICSI, you're an embryologist 2. I could be wrong. But I know that you have to be an embryologist 3, at least in my lab, to do biopsies, to do like the genetic testing. So yeah, obviously like the different levels comes with experience and years. Because I've only been at my job for a year, not a year, I've only been at my job for 2.5 months. All what I've learned so far is sperm analysis and like processing, along with TESAs, which I'll explain in a second. And then dish making, and then I'm in the middle of egg retrievals. So Finn, say hi. Hi, say hi to the camera. Oh, you just want pets all the time. But yeah, that's like pretty much where I am. It's around the holidays right now, so we're super busy. I haven't had as much time to practice egg retrievals, but we're getting there. So we're getting there. I'm excited to do those. I guess I'll just like tell you some things I've learned. So with sperm processing, I guess like an insight to that, that's literally where patients go and provide a sample, and then I take that sample and look at it under the microscope to make sure that there is enough sperm to do ICSI, to do the fertilization. I really like sperm. I think sperm, they're really cool to look at under the microscope. This is what my workstation looks like. So the main things at my workbench are the microscope, the hot plate to keep the sample at a nice 37 degrees, and then our old school counter that looks like it's from the 1970s. And then after we process the sample, it goes into the incubator until we take it back to the embryology lab. That's cool because some samples will be really dense with sperm and then other samples like not so much. But what we all say is you only need 1 to make a baby. So even with like the low level samples, it's like, as long as there are few, we're good. Something with the sperm analysis that we do is, which I didn't even know that this existed before I started this job, but there's like a surgical procedure for like the male. If they don't have sperm in like their normal sample, they can go and do a TESA, which I don't even know what a TESA stands for. Let me look that up. TESA stands for testicular sperm aspiration. What a TESA is so the patient goes under anesthesia and then the surgeon, they remove a little part of the testicle that hopefully will have sperm in it, and we just like, I guess, process it, kind of cut that tissue up and then look for sperm under the microscope and hopefully find some. So people who usually get TESAs done are gonna be the patients that are on the older side, just because, I don't know, a lot of people think, oh, as women get older, our eggs are not as good. Well, that actually goes the same for men. Like the older you get, the quality of your sperm goes down too. So don't be waiting too long to be having kids if you want kids. But yeah, so that's like one thing I learned so far about sperm is yeah, the TESA, which I think TESAs are kind of cool. It's kind of fun to like go up in there and process that tissue and search for it under the microscope. It is sad when we don't find anything, but it's just part of the job. Another thing is, so egg retrievals. I really like egg retrievals so far. My first day of work, I kind of like jumped around and shadowed a bunch of different people doing different things, and one of the things that I was just shook about, which I did not expect, was when you do an egg retrieval, you are in the OR with the doctor, with the anesthesiologist, with the patients, with the nurses. It's like a whole thing. With my previous experience, I've always just been in the lab, like a little lab rat with my microscope, you know what I mean? So to be in the OR where all this action is going on, I was very intimidated, but now I like love it. Like I think it's fun. But yeah, pretty much how a retrieval works is the patient goes under anesthesia, and then the doctor takes a big needle. I'll like put a picture up there. It's kind of like scary, honestly. It looks like it hurts, but that's why they go under. But they remove the little follicles, and the follicles will hopefully have the eggs in them, and then they aspirate it into a tube, and then the tube, we get the tubes as the embryologists and pour it into a little petri dish, and we look at the petri dish with the fluid in it under our microscope, and we have a little pipette. We like look for the eggs, and then we pick them up and we put them in another tube, and we try to find as many eggs as possible. So there is a follicle count that happens previous, so we do kind of know roughly how many eggs to expect to find. And it's crazy, sometimes we don't find any eggs, but other times we find 70 eggs, which is crazy. Every patient is different. I really like the egg retrievals. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's really cool to be in the room with the patient and the doctor and the nurses and the anesthesiologist, like everyone. I don't know if I explained that very well, but I hope you kind of understand it. I'm sure there's other things that are cool about my job that I cannot think about right now. Oh, I guess the other thing I do is dish making. So we have like all these different types of media dishes for all the different procedures, and we make them fresh each day. That's like the most boring part of my job. But I kind of like it because it's kind of relaxing and mindless to make dishes. But anyway, let me know if you liked this information or if it helped you in any kind of way. I kind of want to make more embryology videos. I might do like maybe monthly updates on like what I've learned so far. I would appreciate feedback down in the comments if you would like to see something embryology related from me. Oh, okay, I shut off my camera and I just remembered one other thing I wanted to say that I'm amazed about my job. It's literally so crazy how delicate life is and how every human being is a literal miracle. Not even to get like weird religious-y on you or anything, but like if you're having a bad day, literally what I see at my job, it's a miracle. Let me dive deeper into this. So I just talked about egg retrievals, right? So pretty much like the process of, you know, getting the eggs and then the sperm, making the embryo. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. And a lot of things do go wrong for a lot of patients. That's why we got patients doing 4, 5, 6 rounds of IVF, and that costs a lot of money. Let me explain. So as I'm in the OR doing egg retrievals, for example, let's say we retrieve 10 eggs from a person. We have those 10 eggs. After we get those 10 eggs from the person, we bring those eggs and put them in an incubator in the lab for them to mature. And they usually mature for about like 3-4 hours, I believe. Then like later that day, ICSI is performed, where the sperm is injected into the egg, and then, you know, that's put into an incubator. And there's day checks, so every day someone takes that embryo and looks at it under the microscope to make sure it's developing properly. Once we take the 10 eggs and put them in the incubator for them to mature before ICSI, someone looks at all those 10 eggs and maybe only 8 of them mature out of the 10. So now we're down to 8 eggs, right? So then 8 of the eggs are ICSI'd, which is, yeah, the sperm is injected, turns into an embryo. Every day the embryo is checked by someone, and each day some of those embryos might not develop properly, so those are like thrown out of like the mix of what would eventually be transferred back into the woman. And so like, let's say by day 3, 3 of those embryos don't develop properly. Well, now we go from 8 embryos down to 5. And then let's say, you know, we get to day 5, day 6, and you know, another one of those embryos kind of doesn't develop properly. So that one dies off. So now we only have 4, right? And then let's say we send those 4 embryos out for genetic testing. Well, we get the results back. What if 2 of the 4 have genetic abnormalities, where those genetic abnormalities are not compatible with life? So now we only have 2 embryos. And also the cool thing about the genetic testing, which I think is wild and a lot of people don't know, is when you look at chromosomes, you can see if you're male or female. We get the genetic testing back and we can tell if you got any extra chromosomes or deletions or whatever, but we can also see if the embryo is male or female, and the patient can choose if they want a boy or a girl, like if they have the options, which I think is crazy. And I do must say, as a patient, you can choose whether or not you want to do genetic testing and whether or not you want to like know if it is male or female. But anyway, back to my little story. We get the genetic testing back, and say we got a boy and a girl that are healthy, but then like the other 2 are genetically abnormal. Like I said, not compatible with life. So now like this couple or this patient, out of 10 eggs they retrieved, they only got down to 2 options. And that's a person who gets 10 eggs. This is just another thing that's scary as a woman. Like the longer you wait to have kids, like when you go in to get an egg retrieval, you might only have 2 eggs retrieved. And then those 2 eggs still have to make it all the way through those 6-7 days before the transfer. And then in the example of the person who had 10 eggs from the start down to 2 embryos, one of those embryos could be transferred. And that's another thing, we only transfer 2 embryos at a time. Like with the whole octomom thing, I don't know if that's like a law, but yeah, we can't transfer more than 2 embryos unless the patient gets some kind of like special like permission. With our case study, with our example, that patient, they decided to transfer one of the embryos and then freeze the other. So we got a backup embryo. But then let's say we transfer it and then that embryo doesn't hold and like it's discarded naturally. That could happen, or that could grow and develop into a baby. You know, and they have a backup embryo, which is great, but like, all I'm saying is it's just so wild to me. Like I've learned that so much can go wrong, and I've learned that in college in like my genetics class. So many things can go wrong. The fact that you are a healthy, living, breathing human being watching this right now, like holy shit, you're a miracle. And this has just turned into like a be happy you're here type of story, I guess. It's literally mind-blowing to me. So if you're feeling depressed or sad, literally you're a miracle. Like you had to go through so much, biologically speaking, to be here. And even just like the fact of how many sperm I look at under the microscope, like I literally take like one little drop and look at it under the microscope and I see not thousands, maybe thousands, like hundreds of sperm. And it's just like my mind just is like, oh my god, all these could be like potential humans. But then it's like when I look at it in the sperm processing room, all the sperm I look at gets discarded. So like it's like kind of depressing. All the sperm I look at, like, sorry buddy. Anyway, yeah. I just wanted to say that. I just rambled for another 9 minutes, but I guess that's just like the most mind-blowing thing about my job, and that's why I love it. And to be able to help people have babies, so it's so satisfying. I wish I could like meet the babies, but I actually like don't like children, so maybe it's better I don't meet them. But yeah, my job is just so rewarding because knowing that how hard it is for life to get here and how special each and every freaking human on this earth is because of, biologically speaking, like the hurdles that they have to overcome. So crazy. It makes me like appreciate everyone and everything 100 times more. Okay, I just ramble way too much. That is all I need to say. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will definitely make more embryology content, so hit that subscribe button if you're interested in that. I will make more embryology content along with like my lifestyle and like festival content too. I hope you like all that as well. But yeah, okay, y'all have a great day. Bye!